Hey, Lions Nation! We're back with another exclusive video bringing you all the latest news about our beloved Detroit Lions. Before we get started, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss anything about the team. Now, let's get into the news. Tonight's vibe in the locker room was blunt and honest, and you could hear it in every answer. The scoreboard hurts. The gap was a single field goal, and nothing anyone says changes that. The focus, though, is already shifting from the sting to the fix. This offense came in planning to nudge the tempo, loosen the structure a touch, mix personnel and formations to keep the defense honest. But from the first series, the rhythm kept slipping. When a team that thrives on winning first down opens drives with negative or neutral plays, everything downstream tightens. Second down becomes heavier. Third down stretches into those long yardage traps. And suddenly the defense is living its best life, dialing up exotic looks, delayed pressures, creepers from depth, all of it designed to beat the clock in the quarterback's head. No one in that room is buying the idea they were outmuscled. This roster is built on contact courage, on running through chests and finishing plays in traffic, and that identity did not evaporate. What happened was more subtle. The opponent found small edges early, stacked a few timely plays, and earned the upper hand. From there, the game moved into a chase, and the little execution errors started to matter a lot. A route landmark, 2 steps too shallow flips the throwing window from open to contested. A pressure that arrives a heartbeat early turns a rhythm ball into a rush. A pre-snap penalty drags a promising series into the mud. String a handful of those together, and you wind up with exactly what the stat sheet shows. 5 conversions and 17 third down chances, which is nowhere near this group standard. Ask around, and the theme is consistency on early downs. That is the bread and butter here. Set the table on first down with efficient runs and quick game. Pick up a workable chunk on second down. Live in third and medium instead of third and a mile. Today, they too often landed in third and long, and when that happens, defenses get to tee off. You saw it in the trenches. Twists looping into the A gap, stunts crashing into the B gap, linebackers walking up and then bailing at the snap, safeties threatening late to muddy the protection count. That is the reward a defense earns when the run game is held in check early. And yet, even with all of that, even with the offense rowing upstream, this was decided by 3 points, which is why the players keep coming back to missed chances. The opportunities were there. They simply were not finished. On the perimeter, there were both bruises and bright spots. A young corner broke down the touchdown he allowed with zero excuses. He talked about leverage, about needing to win outside, about playing the fade through the catch point instead of only through the body. He called it what it was, good coverage beaten by a better catch. Then he put it in the past and kept competing. That mentality bled into praise for a rookie who grabbed his first interception, a moment every defensive back remembers. You could feel how much that matters in the room. Confidence is contagious in a secondary. One player takes the ball away, and everyone's eyes get a little brighter the next time the quarterback hitches. The receivers were just as candid. This is a timing-based system that thrives on precision and trust. When the pocket compresses faster than expected, the answer is not finger-pointing. The answer is separation. If the quarterback's internal clock has to speed up, the routes have to snap open sooner, and the ball has to be out with conviction. That is why the penalties sting so much. A false start or a hold does not only cost yards, it erases rhythm. Instead of staying on schedule and forcing the defense to defend both run and pass, you tip your hand, invite pressure, and compress the playbook. They own that. They also kept repeating a simple truth. With all the miscues, with the run game stuck in first gear for long stretches, the game was still on the table. Inside the offensive line room, the conversation tracked the same path. Stay on schedule, eliminate self-inflicted wounds, and third down becomes a solvable equation. Let the run game breathe on first down, and the exotic blitz menu shrinks. When injuries popped and the lineup shuffled, a veteran tackled back the next man without blinking, pointing to live bullets they have already shared in playoff games. That matters, because cohesion across 5 bodies is not theoretical in the middle of a season, it is muscle memory. You could sense the calm there. Get the technique right. Pass off the twist with clean eyes and firm hands. Keep the pocket firm at the depth your quarterback prefers, and the rest of the offense can stand up straight again. Context around the division slipped into the conversation, too. Other rivals dropped games today, which keeps the standings bunched and the runway long. But none of that gives you yards next Sunday. The players know they still face each of those rivals again. They do not need a tiebreaker lesson. They need to cash those head-to-head matchups. That is why the message kept circling back to work days. A couple days to reset, then it is back on Tuesday, back on Wednesday, and the film becomes a to-do list. Fix the cadence details that draw flags. Clean the footwork on the backside of split zone. Sharpen the spacing on quick game so the quarterback's eyes find the first window on time. If a defense is keeping two safeties high to deny explosives, punish the light boxes, hit the underneath options in stride, and force the structure to soften. There is also that date circled on a holiday. Playing on Christmas brings a different kind of charge. Families watch. The stage stretches coast to coast. Veterans will tell you that game can magnify whatever you have been building the previous weeks. No one is jumping ahead, because Washington is next and demands total attention. But the thought sits there. Get this taste out of your mouth before December arrives, and carry momentum into the lights that so many people will be gathered around. You could hear maturity in how the defense framed the night. The word was humility. Football forces it on you. You cannot glide after a win or sulk after a loss. You absorb the lesson, acknowledge the opponent's plan, and make the corrections. On the touchdown allowed, the corner's self-scouting was real. Widen the alignment, anticipate the outside release, keep the hips square longer, attack the hands at the catch point. On the rest of his snaps, he pointed to multiple wins and tight windows, reminding anyone listening that elite receivers will make plays in this league. The goal is not perfection. The goal is the next snap win percentage. On the rookie interception, the takeaway was less scheme than mindset. Trust your keys, trust your film, and when your shot comes, take it with both hands. For the offense, the explosive play question hangs over the last few weeks. Defenses are sitting deeper, rolling help on the outside, and daring this team to live with patience. That is not a problem. It is an invitation to layer answers. Hit the glance route on first and 10. Marry the run action to the intermediate crosser. Borrow a backfield motion to widen second-level eyes and hammer the crease. Then, once the roof starts creeping down, rip the deep post the way this group knows how. This is not reinventing the playbook. It is sequencing. When the sequencing is right, you do not chase chunk plays. You force them to appear. When you boil tonight down to a sentence you can take into practice, it is this: accountability without excuses. Players called out exactly what failed them and exactly how to fix it. When the first down collision and third down shrinks. Keep the cadence clean and the chain crew moves. Coach the splits and landmarks with ruthless detail, and the timing returns. Protect the landmark depth for the quarterback, and the ball gets out on time. On defense, finish at the catch point and trust the help leverage. On special teams, flip a field with a single disciplined return and change the math on the next drive. None of that is a speech. It is film, footwork, hands, eyes, and reps, and do not miss this part. Even in a loss, the leadership tone stayed steady. Veterans talked about protecting teammates mentally when injuries pop up, about how hard it is to grind through uncertainty and still bring the same violence to the next snap. That matters across a long season. Young players read that body language. They see how quickly a room moves from disappointment to detail work, and they learn the habit. So here is where it lands tonight. The loss will ache until the next kickoff. The corrections are not a mystery. The opponent executed their plan, especially against the run, and bought themselves the right to blitz in disguise on the money downs. This offense left points on the field, but stayed within one possession wire to wire, which tells you the foundation is intact. The defense bent in a few high-leverage moments, stole one back with a takeaway, and walked out with a sharper list of technique checkpoints. The division is still right there, with every rival still waiting on the schedule. The calendar turns to another work week, the pads go back on, and every little detail that slipped tonight becomes the emphasis that travels into the next stadium. Before we move on, take a second to drop a like and subscribe. That way, you'll stay up to date with every exclusive Lions update, and you'll even have a chance to win an official Detroit Lions jersey. Let's keep going. Say it out loud and feel the tremor roll through the entire National Football Conference North. Justin Jefferson has closed the chapter in Minnesota and stepped into the light in Detroit, lacing up his cleats under the bright dome and slipping into that Honolulu blue like it was always meant to be. This is not a whisper. This is not a tease. This is a rupture that shook an entire division, a choice that turns matchups into spectacles, and a move that could redraw the power map across the National Football League from late autumn into deep winter. It started with a feeling that would not go away. For months, you could sense a hairline crack between Jefferson and the Vikings' direction, a mismatch between a superstar's timeline and a franchise that kept telling him to be patient while juggling cap gymnastics and future-first decisions. Patience is a virtue until it becomes a cage. Jefferson gave everything to that horned helmet. Precision routes, sideline artistry, contested catch violence, and a swagger that bent coverages before the ball was even snapped. But a wideout lives on trust, timing, and belief that his prime will be honored with the ball where it needs to be, when it needs to be there. When those pillars wobble, the entire house creaks. The decisive turn came over the span of roughly 72 hours that felt like 72 weeks. Negotiators talked in circles. Promises met counterpromises. The locker room felt the static in the air. Jefferson, the player who smiles through double teams and turns routine outs into runway shows, stopped smiling. You could see it in the way he walked off the practice field, helmet unbuttoned, eyes fixed on a horizon that did not include the same old answers. Minnesota pushed numbers across the table that looked massive on paper, but dollars without direction are just ink. He wanted clarity about the offensive identity, protection for the quarterback, and a commitment to a championship window measured in seasons you can count on one hand, not a rebuild stretched over a vague future. The math did not add up. Detroit watched the storm build and never blinked. The Lions have been building a program with a spine made of grit and a brain made of beautiful, ruthless timing. They did not need slogans. They had evidence. A head coach whose voice can fill a stadium without a microphone. An offensive coordinator who layers route concepts like a chess grandmaster stacking forks and pins, a quarterback reborn as a rhythm assassin, and a receiver room that already plays like a pack of wolves. Add Jefferson to that, and you do not just get another weapon. You get a gravitational force that changes how 11 defenders breathe. The first conversation between Jefferson and Detroit's brain trust did not last 15 minutes. It rolled past the half-hour mark, then past the 45-minute mark, because they were not selling a jersey, they were painting a future. Picture this: 1st and 10 at midfield, under the roof, crowd thundering. Amon-Ra St. Brown aligned to the slot, tight to the formation, threatening the option route that has embarrassed nickel corners all season. Jameson Williams stacked wide, speed humming like a race car on the line. Jefferson isolated to the boundary with a split that screams fade but hides a slant and go. The back shaded to chip, then leak. The play clock drips. The ball snaps. Coverage has to choose which poison to sip, and none of them taste good. That is what Detroit offered. Not just money, but geometry. Not just highlights, but meaning. They described spacing rules, stem variations, and how Jefferson's elite stop-start torque would create free yards for the entire unit, even on plays where the ball is not headed his way. They talked about motion, stack releases, compressed splits, and how they could bait a safety out of the post and then snap back across his face. They promised something every star receiver wants more than anything: purpose on every snap, even when the scoreboard says the defense thinks it knows what is coming. Minnesota tried to steer the ship back into calm water. Respect to the franchise for all the years and all the wins. No one in this story has to be a villain. But this is professional football, not a memory book. Jefferson's voice became clear and steady. It is time. Not next year, not after another round of meetings. Now, the image that will live forever for Lions fans unfolded in slow motion. In the tunnel, the light is bright enough to feel like heat. The new jersey hangs straight as a ruler, the number popping like neon against the Honolulu blue. Jefferson runs a hand across the chest, nods once, and lets out a breath he might have been holding for months. This is not cosplay. This is a statement that the past has been folded, stacked, and put away. Out on the field, he jogs toward the far sideline, plants near the 30-yard line, and glides into a route that does not even include a ball. It is a rehearsal of rhythm, the first step of a dance that Detroit wants to perform deep into January. On a whiteboard, you can write the ways Jefferson changes Detroit. On the grass, it is impossible to miss. First, He tilts coverage like the Earth tilts toward the sun in spring. That means more light for a Monterey inside, where his release package becomes a clinic. It creates honest single coverage for Williams, who can turn a simple 9 route into a track meet the second a safety leans toward Jefferson. It lifts the running game without adding a single pound to the offensive line, because light boxes are charity in modern football, and this offense has no intention of refusing free money. It helps the quarterback live at his preferred launch point, because coordinators will think twice before sending an extra body and leaving a star alone outside with grass and time. Second, Jefferson invites creativity. Detroit already loves to test rules. With him, they can write new ones. Imagine the deep over that becomes a stop pivot when the corner opens his hips too early. Picture the glance route off hard play action that hits so quickly the safety cannot even finish his shuffle. See the red zone fade disguised as a slant until the final 2 steps, when Jefferson snaps the corner of the route and high points like he has a ladder under his feet. Every coverage shell becomes a puzzle, and this offense owns the pieces. Third, he changes culture on a cellular level. The Lions have no shortage of tone setters, but Jefferson adds a different flavor of edge. It is not just the dance after the score. It is how he attacks a Tuesday walkthrough with the same stubborn intensity he brings to a Sunday against a top defense. It is how he chases details like a detective chasing a lead. The youngest receiver in the room will watch him take notes, then go back to their own notebook and write 2 extra lines. The veteran will match his standard because that is what real competition looks like inside a winning team. Of course, the division's temperature spikes instantly. Detroit does not just gain a star, it snatches him from a rival's heart. Think about the first meeting back in Minneapolis, dome lights blazing, purple shirts everywhere, and Jefferson jogging out on the opposite sideline. Think about the first 3rd and 7, boundary left, the same tunnel where he scored so many times now staring back at him as enemy territory. The corner across from him knows his tendencies down to the inch, and it still may not matter. The crowd will have something to say about every step he takes. He will answer. With routes, not words. The ripple pushes beyond the division. Defensive coordinators across the conference start drawing new arrows on tablets. The National Football League flexes schedules because that is what you do when a star moves to a contender with a fan base that can shake a camera lens. Primetime games look different when Jefferson is cooking on the painted numbers while the city roars like a jet engine. Announcers reach for bigger metaphors. Kids in backyards try his releases between trampoline jumps. The sport bends toward the spectacular because that is what happens when gravity shifts. Do not forget the human side. Jefferson leaves behind friendships built in sweat, laughs that echoed through hallways, coaches who believed in him when he was just a name on a draft card. Those goodbyes are real, but careers are short. Legs only have so many prime seasons. The clock walks forward no matter how often you stare at it. Every athlete earns the right to chase the best version of his future, and this is Jefferson choosing that with clear eyes. There will be noise in the next few days. Old quotes will be recirculated. Clips will be clipped, then clipped again. None of it will change what happens on the field. What matters is the work, and Detroit has already rolled out the plan. You can practically hear the cadence, feel the first crisp Wednesday install with Jefferson in the front row, nodding as concepts fly onto the screen. You can see the first Friday red zone period where the defense discovers that taking away 1 star means inviting a problem somewhere else. You can imagine the silent look between quarterback and receiver on a crucial snap, a half step of body language that means, now. The city understands. Detroit has waited a long time to feel this fearless. To look at a map of the league and say, we belong on the same line as anybody, anywhere, under any roof or under any sky. Jefferson does not write the ending by himself, but he changes the pen, the ink, and the page count. He brings a certainty that tilts every huddle toward belief. When a superstar puts on your colors, he does not just join a team, he validates a vision. So, yes, the headline is loud because the moment is loud. Justin Jefferson has broken with the Vikings and chosen the Lions. He has traded one shade of purple for a future painted in Honolulu blue. He has stepped from one kind of pressure into another kind, the kind champions crave, the kind that feels like gravity pulling you toward a trophy you can almost touch. The routes will tell the story. The crowd will sing the chorus. And every defensive back who slides his mouthguard into place across from him will know, before the snap and after it, that the league just got a little more dangerous, a little more electric, and a lot more Detroit. We bring you the latest Lions news every single day. So make sure you're subscribed, hit that like button, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a thing. And of course, drop a comment below with your thoughts on today's news. Your voice makes a difference for Lions Nation. See you in the next video.